CM Punk! See, only the absolute smartest of smart crowds still chant for Cornelius Merriweather Punk, who quacked WWE the night after the Royal Rumble 2.5 years ago, and while fans may not be chanting for him anymore, the man never really stopped being talked about, partly because of the whole UFC thing, his debut match being just a month away, and partly because he was a supremely talented wrestler and talker, and also because Cuthbert Mumberdale Punk had a habit of causing havoc backstage, breaking some of the most cardinal rules held precious in Vince McMahon's Tan and Slam caravan. He's gone, but these misdemeanors will mean he is never, ever forgotten. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 WWE crimes that CM Punk totally got away with. Number 10, signing with the competition. Let's start out with the most recent. Cabbage Meat Punk left the WWE in January 2014, and by the time that year was out, he had signed with UFC. A long time ago, Vincent McMahon, the man sitting atop the Iron Throne of pay-per-view, said that if anyone in the pay-per-view business was a competitor to his company, and they don't come much bigger than UFC, an ever-expanding monster which every year provides more and more fans with a, quote, legitimate alternative to WWE. It's a double slap in the face too, because not only has Punk gone over to the enemy camp, but the narrative of that journey, Punk leaving fake WWE to pursue an actual challenge, makes wrestling look all sorts of bad. Needless to say, Vince will be watching UFC 203, hoping for Punk to get his ass all the way kicked. Number 9, using his own name. Cedric Moriarty Punk is not CM Punk's real name. I know, your ghast is well and truly flabbered, but no, my hive mind of Twitter eggs and bridge trolls, Punk's real name is Phil Brooks. CM Punk is his wrestling name. A wrestling name that not only was he using before he entered Vince McMahon's grapple van, but it's a name he can still use and profit off to this day. That never happened. Sure, now that WWE is importing indies left, right and centre, they let AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe use their names, but for Punk to enter the company in 2005 and keep the wrestling name that he owned, it's unbelievable. Vince McMahon likes to own his stars' names, their gimmicks and all their trademarks, so they can't do exactly what Punk has done, leave WWE and use global brand name recognition to further his career. Number 8, being an internet darling. Again, this is no longer a crime that holds superstars down the modern era of WWE. Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Hideo Itami, Nakamura, Joe Styles, Aries, Bobby Roode. WWE has gone on an importing binge in the last few years, snapping up the best wrestlers from all corners of the globe. It's a big change for the company whose MO for nearly 30 years was, we create our own stars. Which is a bit ironic considering that the WWF's main success was originally born from Vincent McMahon pilfering all the biggest names from the territories in the early 80s, but hey ho. When Cuban metrosexual Punk walked into WWE, he was already a huge deal with Ring of Honor, putting on a Meltzer 5-star match for them with Samoa Joe, as well as tearing up the indie scene with guys like Colt Cabana and Chris Hero. WWE's motto, however, especially a decade ago, was, everything you ever did before us never existed, good luck with that. And if anything, being a huge internet star was a strike against Punk before he even started, because he had a pre-existing style and methodology that now WWE would have to try their best to unpick and rewrite. Number 7, holding them hostage. Oh, you do not hold up Vince McMahon for money unless your name is Brock Lesnar. You just don't do it. It always ends badly. Look at the Ultimate Warrior. At SummerSlam 1991, Warrior held Vince up over hundreds of thousands of dollars he believed was owed to him. He threatened to walk out before the event, and his punishment, as soon as the match was over, the very nanosecond he got backstage, he was immediately suspended. Despite the fact that Vince does not like power plays like that, in 2011, Chili Moose Punk did exactly that. See, before Money in the Bank, his contract really was coming to an end, and he really was set to walk out of the company. He refused to sign right down to the wire, ready to walk away. He demanded a private bus, a big raise, a new theme song, all of which McMahon handed over, desperate to keep him. Number 6, bad-mouthing The Rock. Like the Mafia, the wrestling business is built on respect and awful pinstripe suits. John Cena, what is wrong with you? In the business, you shake hands, you pay your dues, and you sure as hell respect your elders. And when it comes to veterans, they don't come much more beloved to WWE than The Rock. He's their golden goose who can be regularly relied upon to flex out an incredibly ripped golden egg of mainstream attention and nostalgic joy whenever WrestleMania season rolls around. It would take someone who's truly taking a left turn down not giving a boulevard to slag him off, step up, crumpet, maker, Punk. No, I'm not talking about his work shoot and calling Dwayne an ass kisser, everyone knows about that. No, but in an interview in 2011 with The Hot Click, he also criticised The Rock for the way he comported himself backstage and in the locker room. Number 5, suing the company. Filing a lawsuit against Captain Vince feels like something that should be at the top of this list, and don't get me wrong, it's still seen as quite the crime within WWE to sue the boss, but it's not exactly the sort of thing you can't come back from. A surprising number of people have sued WWE and still return. Jesse the Body Ventura, Ricky Steamboat, Ultimate Warrior, Sable, Brock Lesnar, and so it's in quite illustrious company that we find Creamy Milk Punk. Punk, who sued the company for wrongful termination after they suspended him and then fired him on his wedding day. The two parties agreed privately out of court. Number 4, being small. Classical music punk is not small by any conventional use of the term, but in WWE, the land of the giants, for someone to be as lean as Cat Murderer Punk was long considered a crime against everything Vince Muscles McMahon stands for. Sure, not anymore. In today's WWE, Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins all became megastars without being stuffed full of buff. But 10 years ago, no one in the company other than Paul Heyman wanted to cut Punk a break because he was thin. Even Punk must have realised this because, according to his documentary DVD, when he first started in OVW, he slapped on a hell of a lot of muscle mass. If you go back and find footage of him, he looks really weird, like he's been inflated. Of course, Punk would drop a pipe bomb, become the hottest man in wrestling, and end up making himself indispensable to Vince, despite still committing the cardinal sin of being slender. Number 3, slighting Triple H. Remember earlier when I said it was a bad thing to disrespect your elders? Well, that, but also the elder in question is the Executive Vice President of Talent, Live Events and Creative. In 2014, Creme de Menthe Punk had already been screwed, in his mind, out of one WrestleMania main event, and when 30 rolled around, it became painfully clear he wasn't getting that match this time either. The opponent they had lined up for him was Triple H. See, the problem was, Punk remembered how that went at Night of Champions 2011. In summary, poo for Punk, and the straight-edge superstar straight up refused, stating he had absolutely nothing to gain from working with Trips again, which is a giant slap in the face to the man who views his yearly Mania matches as a big gift for his opponents. Number 2, disrespecting The Undertaker. Okay, you can disrespect Vince, you can disrespect The Rock, and you can disrespect Triple H, but there is one man in professional wrestling that you don't get to diss, as the children would say, and that is the dead man. The Undertaker's word is essentially law in WWE, and he's the one man who can instantly veto any of Vince's plans. You don't disrespect The Undertaker and get away with it. And to be honest, it is a bit of a cheat putting this on this list because long term, sure, Punk got away with it. He had a 434-day WWE title reign, but short term, oh boy, he did not. The year was 2009 and Chocolate Mayonnaise Punk was World Heavyweight Champion. The roster was on a European tour when Undertaker took Punk to one side and told him he should dress a little better as champion. When Punk talked back to him by pointing at how John Cena dresses outside the company, hint, John Cena is the worst dressed man in the history of suits, this gave him an absolute ton of heat. In fact, it was this slight to the dead man that resulted in Punk losing the title to Taker in one of the most one-sided Hell in a Cell matches ever. Still, he survived in the company, but what a crime. And number 1, breaking kayfabe. Remember the before time, before the network and countless WWE 24 specials and before the reality era and all of that stuff? Remember how Punk's pipe bomb was a huge goddamn deal? Well, it's easy to forget nowadays, but that's because kayfabe was still sort of a thing. Now, sure, everyone knew that wrestling was fake, but the wrestlers weren't supposed to say it on national bloody television. Chris Masters Punk did exactly that. The biggest cardinal sin in wrestling, breaking the fourth wall, the kind of behaviour that would have seen him dragged backstage in the 1980s and beaten with a sock full of batteries, and not only did Punk get away with it, it launched him instantly into the main event. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.